This monitor may just be the super ultra-wide OLED for the budget-conscious gamer, and we use the term budget very loosely. Now, is anything holding the AORUS CO49DQ super ultra-wide gaming monitor from that title? Well, we're about to find out right here, right now on Robeytech. It's been a hot minute since we've done an in-depth monitor review here at Robeytech, but it's an amazing time to dive back in because there are some fantastic new OLED monitors on the market. And if you like your monitors double wide, you're in luck. Monitors like the AORUS CO49DQ are taking over desktops, both literally and figuratively. And like we have done in all of our monitor reviews, rather than rattling off numbers and letters, we will be referring to the CO49DQ as the monitor throughout this video. Though we did think about calling it the Colorado Dairy Queen with like the DQ in there, or the Face Roller 9000, because I swear that's like how monitors are actually named. They just like duct tape a monitor and just roll their face, and it's like, oh, there's the name right there. Now, we do know that big monitors can be intimidating, so if you aren't sure whether your system can handle one or not, we have a guide on what kind of PC it takes to drive super ultra-wide monitors just like this one. It's over on the Robeytech Live channel, and you should definitely watch that video right here, right after you watch this one. And also make sure you like and subscribe to both channels while you're at it. Now, starting with the what's in the box, the monitor comes with a panel, a monitor stand, a base, along with HDMI, DisplayPort, power cables, as well as a quick start guide and a warranty card. What's great about that last part is that Gigabyte now has a 3-year warranty for their entire line of new QD OLED monitors, and that warranty also covers image burn-in. Now, this is actually pretty awesome, but we'll talk about another way to protect your OLED from burn-in when we talk about monitor controls. And again, guys, this is some of the stuff that's starting to go away when you think about OLED moving in the future, that whole burn-in fear. Now, as for the assembly process, it's pretty simple. The panel, stand, and base all attach to each other without the need of tools. Everything either locks into place with release tabs or either is tightened down by hand. There is a Phillips head indentation on the screw that holds the base to the stand if you're nervous about holding tight. Now, we've seen Gigabyte use this design in a number of their more recent monitors, and we're here for it, especially since the design is kind of really straightforward. Okay, so how much desktop real estate does someone need for a beast like this? Great question, and one that really needs to be considered when you have a monitor this big. Basically, you're gonna need at least 4 or 5 feet worth of space on top of whatever else you may have on your desk. Now, the monitor does have compatibility with VESA 100 by 100 mount, so if you wanted to stick this on your wall, if you're celebrating because you have a sim rig, or use a super hefty desk mount arm, you do have those options. Now, speaking of hefty, this monitor weighs about 25 pounds or about 11.3 kilograms. So you might need like a friend or two to help set it up, or you can just use one Brian because he did it all by himself. Or at least maybe have them help you carry the box, though Brian says you're a wuss if you can't do it by yourself. And remember, guys, make sure you lift with your knees, not with your back. Now, the monitor had a retail price of $899.99. Now, if you're reeling from how expensive that sounds and you're thinking, that's not budget for a monitor, I get it. And I understand it's no small chunk of change, but that price is actually cheaper than comparative monitors like the MSI MPG 491 CQP, which is $1,000, or the Samsung 49-inch Odyssey OLED G9, that's $1,100. Now, when we talk about the materials, when you think about, well, what do you get for the price? Is it cheap? No. Let's talk about materials. The monitor has like a plastic shell that is both ridged and smooth bits to give it a nice balance of textures, along with the AORUS branding and motto across the back. While it doesn't have any RGB, the monitor does have a shiny mylar strip running across the back that reflects any lights you have on behind it. Since we're talking about materials here, the stand and base of the monitor may be wrapped in plastic, but they have a hefty metal interior that acts as an incredible counterweight to the panel itself. Or you could use it as a personal defense weapon in case you get attacked while assembling. You're just like, yeah, back off! So in case you were wondering or concerned about this thing being too top heavy, Gigabyte's got you covered with that already. Next up, the monitor has a 5-way control located at the underside of the panel, right smack in the center, which is honestly the best place for it. Now, the center press of the knob serves as the power button, and it also brings up the OSD or on-screen display. If navigating menus with a knob isn't for you, Gigabyte's OSD Sidekick software will allow you to make all of the changes you want through the actual app. Now, we covered all of this in our review of the FO48U, but it's just a really neat utility to have, and honestly, on our FO48U that we have set up in the other room, we use it actually all the time. Now, for options here, you can open settings, which you can do things like enable Gigabyte's game assist features like timers or crosshairs. You can open up your monitor settings, you can turn the monitor off, or you can use the OLED clean features, things like the Pixel Clean tool, to help you keep your OLED in good shape for the long haul. Okay, so let's talk about the specs here. As the numbers in the official name, the CO49DQ, imply, the monitor is a 49-inch super ultra-wide monitor. Now, instead of the typical 16:9 aspect ratio we're used to seeing on regular widescreen monitors, this one is actually 32:9. So essentially, it's like having two 24.5-inch monitors sandwiched together. But instead of two monitors, you just have one behemoth panel. Now, we're going to list out the monitor details on screen, but some important features include a QD OLED panel. It's got 144 Hz refresh rate. It's got 99% of the DCI-P3 color gamut. It's got 10-bit color depth and much, much more. Now, I know we say this a lot around here, but if you have never seen an OLED in person and your only experience with monitors has been LCDs, this monitor is going to treat your eyes. Let's just be super clear. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's glorious. Now, one other thing to be aware of is if you plan to use a display like this for productivity applications, OLED monitors have a history of making text a little bit more challenging to read as light bleeds over between pixels. While Gigabyte did a really good job of keeping bleed over to a minimum, we did actually still notice some. Now, one thing we also noticed, and if you could see back here, you can actually see I have it zip tied, but there isn't really actually a good way to hide cables, which is a little bit of a bummer, considering how many connections we're talking about that this monitor has. You've got two HDMI ports, one display port, you got USB Type-C and Type-B port for upstream connections, you got two USB 3.0 Type-A downstream ports, and more. Now, in case you're wondering what all this upstream and downstream business is about, this is a KVM or keyboard video mouse monitor. That means that you share the downstream USB Type-A ports between two upstream devices. So, if you have a gaming PC and a Mac Mini, or you have a dedicated streaming PC on your desk, you could share keyboard, mouse, and monitors between the two devices with a simple flick of a setting. Now, these settings are buried inside of the OSD's display menu, but you can change one of the directions on the controller knob to serve as your KVM selector. While this isn't as convenient as having like a KVM button or even being able to do shortcut presses with a keyboard, it certainly beats out not having any KVM support at all. Now, on a similar note, the monitor does have two 5-watt speakers built in. From an overall quality standpoint, they're adequate for built-in speakers. They're not going to blow you away, but they're also not going to hurt your ears. They are, however, handy if you keep like a console on your desk for some casual gaming where sound quality isn't as vital, or if you need to be able to hear like general alerts from your system or anything like that. Or just testing it, you know? Sometimes it's just like nice to have speakers to be like, does this actually work? Again, it's nice to have, but you're probably going to want to use like a sound bar or headphones for better quality sound. Now, one last feature before we talk about performance, the monitor has AMD's FreeSync Premium Pro certification. So this means that the monitor has low frame rate compression, offers a tear-free experience, supports AMD's FreeSync HDR, and meets specific requirements for size and refresh rates. Now, if you're using an NVIDIA GPU, don't panic. Even though Gigabyte doesn't specifically call it out, this monitor still falls within the range of G-Sync compatible. Now, we were testing on a system that we used, which was NVIDIA equipped, which was a RTX 4090 system, etc. It worked just fine, but we always have to say your mileage may vary, but we doubt it's going to be an issue. Okay, now onto the performance and our experience with the monitor. To test the monitor, we ran Test UFO to check the image ghosting, ran the EZO monitor test for things like color uniformity and color distinction, and we played a ton of games on it that we were familiar with. In Test UFO, the monitor's 144 Hz response time kept the image fairly clear as we watched what looked like one of the aliens from Toy Story basically flying across the screen. We didn't see any real issues from the ghosting here, but this test does a really good job of locking in the refresh rate for your monitor. As for gaming tests, we played Destiny 2, Forza Motorsports, Microsoft Flight Sim, Helldivers 2, and more. Some of these are amazing, like Flight Sim is fantastic on a monitor like this. From a user standpoint, using this monitor was such an incredible and enjoyable experience since these games take advantage of the super ultra-wide aspect ratio and that crisp OLED HDR. In each game, we had nothing but a smooth experience, and honestly, we loved playing games on the system. There was, however, something that felt slightly off, and that's where our EZO test and some research helped us identify what we were experiencing. Overall, the color uniformity and gradients during the EZO test were good, but like in our gaming, we did notice some colors felt slightly off. Not wrong, just not what they should have been. On its own, it looked fine, great, even if you're coming from an LCD, but when we put it side by side with competing QD OLED monitors like the new OLEDs from MSI and Asus, we weren't wowed in the same way as those that they really captivated us. The colors didn't seem as vibrant, and the brightness, it was nowhere close. Now here's the deal, were we doing something wrong, or were our eyes just broken from staring at the majesty of OLED for too long? And let's just be honest, this is a first world problem, and I realize that now when I'm saying this out loud. Now we thought we had looked at just about everything, and then we found Short Circuit's review of the monitor, because honestly we had to do some research because somebody else had to call this out. Now they saw some of the same color discrepancies that we were noticing, and they discovered exactly what we were experiencing. There is an HDR brightness setting that is buried deep inside of the OSD under APL stabilize, where you would think it would be. And it turns out the monitor was only running at 1/4 of the brightness it's capable of out of the box. Now, this is intentional. It helps to reduce the risk of image burn-in, but at the cost of brightness. Now, when we switch from low to medium, which you're seeing some imagery of right here, we noticed an immediate difference in color and vibrancy. Now, the difference wasn't as noticeable when we switched from medium to high, so you can get your brightness and OLED care cake and eat it too. So with all of this in mind, now for the questions that is just as big as this monitor. Is the AORUS CO49DQ worthy of becoming your next monitor? Well, for starters, $900 is a pretty penny to spend on a monitor, but it's also one of the least expensive super ultra-wide QD OLED monitors on the market by a margin of $100 or more. And this thing has been on sale multiple times. Chances are, if you're already looking for monitors in this size range, you're probably already seeing this price range. Throw OLED on top of that and the price starts making a whole lot more sense, albeit still a lot of money to spend. Now, to be fair, when you're considering a super ultra-wide monitor, it's more than a monitor. It's essentially 2 monitors with extra real estate and features like picture-by-picture. Now, the monitor does come with some slight issues out of the box with color vibrancy as well as a little bit of color accuracy. Now, the color accuracy wasn't anything that took away from the gaming experience, but if you are doing photo editing or doing color correction where accuracy is actually vital, you're probably going to want to see one of these in person before taking the plunge. We also have to bring up the APL stabilize settings here. While we love that Gigabyte is being conscious of their customers and the longevity of their monitors, having this set to the lowest possible brightness out of the box and having it buried in the OSD could have users worried that the monitor is either defective or worse, they're basically using their monitor over the course of the entire lifetime at a fraction of its potential. And honestly, there should be a warning right out of the box that says, hey, if you're noticing this being too dark, here's how to change it. Now, we're not trying to be picky here, and yes, we know the manual talks about this setting, but it should be a little bit more clear. Having these default settings so low still feels like a miss. Now, we also have to knock it on cable management. Even though there is a hole in the stand, you just have cables kind of dangling out there, and on a $900 monitor, outside of providing your own anchor ports, there isn't a whole lot you can do about it. Is this the best OLED monitor we've seen to date? No, but it's still pretty impressive once it's set up right, and it's also not the most expensive one either. And honestly, the one thing we really did love about it, it compares spec for spec with the competition, and it's at a cheaper price. At the end of the day, when we looked at the whole picture, we're talking about size, features, the dimensions, and yes, even the costs, it looks like this monitor is the value leader for the budget-conscious PC user that still wants premium features with a high-end ultra-wide monitor. And that just about wraps this one up. We want to give a huge shout out to Gigabyte for letting us borrow the AORUS CO49DQ to put it through its paces and really understand what makes it special. But we want to know what you think. Are you interested in QD OLED monitors or super ultra wides? We want to know what you think of the features, and are they interesting to you, and what you think about having settings that protect monitors, or do you think it's better to let customers be aware and make those changes on their own? Let us know down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button with that like button and ring that notification bell so that you get a notification each and every time we post videos like this right here on Robeytech. Also, if you have questions or want to talk about monitors more or want better recommendations, head on over to discord.gg/Robeytech. Amazing place to talk to other tech and PC enthusiasts who love to talk about these very same things. And you know what? You might just make a friend. Also, make sure you follow us on all the other socials at Robeytech, absolutely everywhere. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.